Hello and welcome to the Monsters, Myths, and Mayhem podcast. I am Silver. I remembered to do my intro this week.
And I'm chaotic. there was a pause. I wasn't sure what I was supposed to
do. This week is a little bit different because this monster is also a folklore hero, technically.
Okay.
It is widely debated if he is folklore or if he is in the mythology category. It is Anansi. I gotta try and pronounce my words better.
Anansi?
Yes. Because it could sound like something else.
Which we do not support here on this podcast ever.
Yes, we do not. I'll be a little slower with my pronunciation. So, have you ever heard of Anansi, Kaotic?
It sounds familiar, but I don't know what it is.
Anansi is a character that appears in Akan folklore, which covers like the countries of Ghana and like the western coast of Africa. He is a Spider-Man. Man spider.
A man spider. Spider-Man's a little different. Spider-Man's a little different.
Well, yeah, a bit different. He has seen several different ways. So you can have Anansi as, a spider body with spider legs and a human face, or a human body with spider limbs, spider face, maybe a spider's body with human limbs, with 8 human limbs instead, and a human face.
Mm-hmm.
He is depicted many different ways because there's many stories about him. Are you okay?
I'm fine.
Your camera just went blank and things.
Oh.
It sounded like you fell.
Oh no. I'm okay.
Anansi is usually used as like storytelling and lesson learning in many children's folk tales that even adults like to listen to. He's a trickster spider. He's a trickster deity.
My God.
The reason that it is debated that he is whether he's folklore or mythology is because they say that because Anansi is the son of Nyame, the sky god, would also make Anansi a god. But other stories refer to Anansi as not a god, but like a in-between of human, mankind, mortal, and god. Like almost some stories he's a messenger. Others he's just a spider that has contact with Nyame.
Mm-hmm.
And he displays like mortal qualities, which gives him the folklore title.
Okay.
Which I don't see why we can't have both folklore and mythology kind of together.
Yeah, I feel like they go hand in hand a bit. I can see why some folklores they would say aren't mythology. Like there are some that are more like, I guess, how do I want to phrase that? Like village folklore, like specifically to that village, kind of thing. I can kind of see that. But in a sense, it would still, oh my God, please. In a sense, it would still be like the village's mythology. I mean, it is, a grouping of stories about gods or like godlike creatures or men. And I think it files close to.
Yeah, I believe so. I guess I should probably look up the actual definitions of mythology and folklore sometime, even though we've talked about them several times here on the podcast as we are a show about it. Many of Anansi's original stories are all oral tellings, verbal stories. So they didn't get written down till much later. Anansi's main features that he is known for is his cunning and his wisdom and his ability to trick stronger opponents or stronger gods
Mm-hmm.
so that he would have the upper hand or win or get what he wants, be able to outwit them.
Mm.
And you died again.
Yeah, the cat fucking just knocked over my whole mod. Ow, cat! Jesus Christ.
Which mod? Phantom
My
or
vape
bats
mod.
or
Nuggies.
the stories of Anansi became known as spider stories because Anansi means spider, and Anansi is the one that gave the world wisdom and stories,
Okay.
which is the media I had.
Okay.
Anansi is also seen to have children in some of these stories
Mm-hmm.
and also a wife.
Oh.
They're also spiders or human spiders.
Yeah.
And some of his tales have been known to kind of explain things like why do spiders have 8 legs? Why is there cobwebs on the ceiling? Why is there a moon?
Why is there a moon?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Or how the moon came to be. Not really why there's a moon.
I mean, yeah, but like same thing. I get it.
Nancy is also really important to the African American culture.
Okay.
Because his stories were brought with them from Africa through the transatlantic slave trade, and they kind of gave, when they lost everything they still had the stories of Anansi to keep hold of, and with his wit and everything of besting everybody, they just kind of kept hold of that story. So he was kind of a symbol of hope and rebellion for them. That's kind of all I had.
Okay.
Story time. Would you like to know how Anansi was able to get the stories of the world in order to kind of share them with the world and get stories? I can see you nodding. This is an audio program.
Yeah. Chaotic. This is a polite reminder that this is an audio program. Yes.
Okay, so there was a time when no stories existed except for the ones owned by the sky god, Nyame.
Okay.
Anansi wanted these stories and the wisdom that came with them, so he visited the sky god and offered to buy them. Nyame scoffed. And how will you afford such a price? The biggest and richest kingdoms have tried to purchase my stories, yet none could afford them. I promise I can. Name your price, Anansi replied. Nyame contemplated how the spider could keep his promise. He gave him a set of labors, tasks that he deemed impossible.
Always with the labors. These gods are
I
always
know.
like do my chores and then we'll
Well,
talk.
what else can they do for him though? They got
I mean,
everything else.
You're right.
They're
You're
just.
right. But still.
I mean, they could technically probably do these labors themselves.
Oh, guaranteed. You know, there was multiple times that like especially like when like Zeus handed out labors and stuff, you were like, bro, you know you can snap your fingers and fix that, but you just want to watch it unfold for what?
Oh, you gotta clean out like Hercules. Oh, you gotta clean out this cow pen that never seems to be clean. Just snap and it'd be all clean.
Literally. Like, come on.
So Niame's labors, Niame said, then fetch me the most dangerous animals. Onini the python, Osabo the leopard, the Moboro hornets, and the Fami, and the fairy, and the fairy.
Oh, I thought it was like legit, like the name of something, and here you just completely mispronounced fairy as Fanny. Is
Yes,
this what
I
I'm
did.
understanding? Okay.
I did completely mispronounce fairy. And the fairy Moasha. Niame commands. Anansi accepted the challenge, but before he set off, Niame added Anansi's mother to the list. So Anansi returns to his home to make a devised a plan to get these creatures with his wife Aso and his mother to capture the python. So Anansi went to where Onini, the python, lived, and he took a palm tree branch with him. He started spouting off like, "Oh, my," he said, "Oh, Onini the python, my wife says you are no longer than this palm branch." And Onini came out, and he said, "I am definitely longer than this palm branch. Let me lay out next to it." So Onini stretched out next to the palm branch, and he's and Anansi said, "You still got curves, but you're still shorter. Let me help you straighten out." So he began to tie Onini to the palm branch in order to help him straighten out, which he was still shorter than the palm branch. That's how he captured Onini the python, by tying him to the palm branch. And then he took him up to the sky god. The second creature he had to capture was, him and his wife came up with the plan, were the hornets. In order to trick the hornets into being captured, Anansi had a gourd full of water. So he proceeded to dump the water over top of the hornet's nest and said, "Oh, hornets, it is raining. Please come inside this gourd where it is dry." And the hornets flew inside the gourd. And he capped it off and took it up to Niame, the sky god.
He's creative. He's creative as hell.
Yeah. The third one, they devised a plan to catch Osabo the leopard. To do this, Anansi dug a hole and covered it with branches. The leopard came running by and fell into the pit. This leopard just got team rocketed.
Oh my gosh. Team rocketed. That's a whole new verbiage.
Well, they always dug the holes back in like the first three seasons of Pokemon.
Yeah.
Anansi came running up to the leopard and said, "Oh, Osabo, I can help you out of the hole," because Osabo could not get out of the hole by himself. He dug it too deep. So he said, "Here, grab onto my web and I shall pull you out." And Anansi started throwing web into the hole. As Osabo tried to climb out and he got out of the hole, he realized that he was all tangled up in the web and could not get out. So Anansi took him up to the sky god.
The sky god is, first of all, the sky god was like, "Here, do all of these things," but then doesn't even have the audacity to meet halfway for like these these labors deliveries. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's rude.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he actually flies up to him or if he teleports. It doesn't really say.
Probably has to walk some Olympic cloud.
Yeah, he gets the flying nimbus.
No.
Then the last of the dangerous creatures he had to catch the fairy. Anansi carved a doll and covered it with sap from a tree, making it sticky. He then took a yam, mashed it, and placed it under a tree, where the fairy would pass. When the fairy saw the bowl of yam, she asked the doll if she could have some. Using his webs as strings, Anansi pulled on them and made the doll nod. The fairy ate the yam and thanked the doll. However, Anansi did not respond. The fairy took offense. The doll did not acknowledge her gratitude, and so she slapped the doll.
Oh my God, what is happening? It got so spicy.
But when she slapped the doll, her hand became stuck because of the gummy substance that Anansi slathered across it.
Oh my God. Yeah.
She then turned and used the other hand to slap the doll again.
Oh my God.
Now both hands were stuck.
Oh my Jesus.
Anansi finally showed himself, tying up the helpless fairy and taking her home before returning to the sky god one last time. He explained the deal he had made to his mother, and she agreed to come with him, presenting the sky god with the fairy and his mother. Anansi had honored his promise. Niame summoned the elders and explained that the spider before them had succeeded where the great mighty kingdoms had failed. With his blessing, the sky god announced that all stories that exist shall now be known as spider stories.
Oh my gosh.
Some of these stories, sometimes the story, Anansi's mother is Earth, is Mother Nature, is Earth itself.
Right.
But that was the story of it. What do you think of that one?
I mean, I think it's cute. I mean, like there's that slapping took me for a whole ride. But I think the story itself is like pretty cute.
That's kind of how all these stories are. The next story I got is the story of. See, these are the most common stories. These two of how, and this one's the story of how wisdom was spread around the world,
Mm-hmm.
which it's told several different ways by several different authors. So on a stormy night, a stormy day, Anansi decided to gather all the wisdom in the world and keep it for himself.
Mm-hmm.
He did so by placing all the wisdom in a large pot. He then found the largest tree, believing the very top to be a great place to hide all the wisdom. He tied the pot in front of him and tried climbing the tree. Anansi's youngest son had seen his father and decided to follow him. What he then observed was anger and frustration, as whenever his father made some slight progress, he came sliding back down the tree. The weight of the
Oh.
pot was too much for him to hoist above him and climb the tree at the same time during this storm. His son laughed and called out to his father, "Why don't you try tying the pot behind your back? That way, you'll be free to climb uninhibited." Anansi, still frustrated, looked down at his son and decided to continue doing things his way. However, during this moment, the pot slipped from his hand and came crashing down and broke. The storm dispersed the wisdom through the forest, carried by the air and the river. The
Mm-hmm.
wisdom had soon spread throughout the entire kingdom, and further. Although Anansi had failed, he soon realized that his son was correct. What point is there in having all the wisdom in the world if a child can solve the solution to your problem before you can? He spoke.
Wow. Wow. Salt.
Uh, this is one of Anansi's stories where he displays undesirable traits such as greed and stubbornness, but in the end, he sees the error of his ways and comes to the realization that maybe wisdom being spread equally is better than being hoarded by one person.
Do most of his stories have like greed and stuff, or is it usually like the really like, I don't know, I guess more pure?
It depends. Usually, it has some sort of negative virtue, like greed, and then it turns out that he realizes these are bad and swaps over at the end.
Oh,
Like
okay.
there is a
So
story
like a
with
lesson learned type story.
yes,
Okay.
like there's one with him and death,
Mm-hmm.
where he goes and sees a old man sitting next to a house, and he asks the old man if he can go in and eat. The old man doesn't answer, so he helps himself inside and eats all
Oh.
his food.
Wow. Wow.
And then he comes back the next day and does it again
I
and
love that.
again, and then he finally brings his daughter with him. He says, "Here's my daughter. You shall marry her."
Mm.
And then he tells his daughter, "Daughter, go inside and make your father some food."
Oh.
Then he comes back, and the next day, and he can't find his daughter anywhere, but he finds her wedding ring inside the oven.
Oh shit.
He asks the old man, "What have you done to my daughter?" Then the old man finally speaks up. He says, "I am Do you not know who I am? Anansi says, No, I do not. He says, I am death. You have given me your daughter, and you have taken
Wow.
my food. Now I shall have you. Well
God, that's some.
then death chases Anansi, and Anansi realizes that death cannot climb trees or cannot climb.
What a what a trait to have. Just he specifically just cannot climb trees.
I know. And then continuing on, Anansi makes it back to his house
Mm-hmm.
with death following by, and Anansi yells to his wife, Wife, get the children and climb to the ceiling. Death is upon us. And I guess his wife thought he was saying something about potato peeling. And so, but he ended up convincing her to run inside and get the children. And Anansi, his wife, and his children climbed to the roof of this, or the ceiling just in time for Death to come in.
Mm.
Well, Death sat there and waited. Soon, Anansi's son fell, and Death put him in a bag.
Oh my God.
Then his daughter fell, and Death put her in a bag. Then finally, Anansi's wife fell,
Oh
and
my.
he put her in a bag. Death was like, I have only come for you, Anansi, yet I have got your family.
Oh my.
Anansi then said, If I am too weak now. If I fall, I shall burst into many pieces, and you shall not have me. There's a
My God.
there's a barrel of flour in the kitchen. Go fetch that. He was planning to run when Death went to go get the barrel, but he was too quick. Anansi then ended up falling, but he landed on top of Death's head and pushed
Mm-hmm.
Death's face into the flour, temporarily blinding him.
Oh my
Then
God.
he made his escape.
My God.
And this is why there are spider webs on ceilings.
Wow.
Is because it is said that Anansi has escaped death yet again.
Wow. I kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
That was a wild ride, though. That was a wild fucking ride.
There's a lot of stories like that. Then another one I remember off the top of my head hearing was Anansi and the stew pots.
Uh-huh.
Or the food.
Yeah.
Which it's not probably actually its name, but it was Anansi was in the forest, and he smelled vegetables cooking from his friend a rabbit. And these are all different animals. And he says, Anansi, would you like some? Yes, I'd like some. Let me, if I have other things to do, just pull on this string when the food is done. And he continues to do this for 8 other times. And he has a piece of his webbing, a piece of string, tied around each one of his legs.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time he got to the river, he felt a tug that the vegetables were done. And he was going to go, but then he felt the tug from every single leg, that all the food was done at the exact same time. And he got stretched so hard that it hurt, and he ended up falling in the river where the webbing dissolved.
Oh.
And he couldn't actually go to any of the food. This was a story about stretching yourself too thin.
Wow. They really covered all the bases with these stories, didn't they?
Mm-hmm. And the story of they had a wide variety from just entertaining to life lesson stories. Anansi was in a bunch of things. He was in TV shows. I believe he was
He's
in
in TV shows.
I was thinking he was in Franklin, but not Franklin.
There's one in oh my God, what is that guy's name?
I know American Gods. I think that's a book he's in.
Oh, what was that fucking spider's name?
His name. I guess his name's at least used in Anansi Boys, which I'm not sure if it has Anansi in it.
What is? There's like a whole show that I'm thinking of that has, I feel like, the same esque, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's got a giant spider in it. but it's like a spider guy.
A spider guy.
I can't remember what that is. It's honestly
Spider-Man?
kind of creepy. No, it's honestly he's kind of creepy. It used to be like a kid's cartoon, and there was multiple other like animals and stuff in it, but like he represented a lot like the Anansi, and so it's just like I can't remember. I'm trying to think of what it is so that way I could show you. I don't even freaking know off the top of my head. I thought it was Oswald, but I don't think it is.
Oswald was like Mickey Mouse's predecessor, right?
Oswald is the octopus. It was an octopus show. But yeah, I know which one you're talking about. There's a different Oswald that was
Yeah.
like Mickey's predecessor. But Oswald the octopi had a hot dog as a pet and like an Anansi as a
Oh,
teacher.
yeah.
I thought.
Okay.
I thought that was where that was because it used to creep me out. Maybe I'm wrong.
Okay, so according to Wikipedia, Anansi is in Pandora's Box, Civilization VI, and Shivers,
Mm,
as well as Pathfinders, the role playing game.
yeah.
There's Anansi in Static Shock.
Yeah.
He's a superhero. Anansi is also the one who gave Vixen her powers, I believe. In the Vixen's webtoon comic, he just recently came about.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see if he was in the Oswald? Did it come up any?
Yeah, it's not showing me, but I thought that's where that creepy teacher was. I just can't remember to save my life.
Oswald teacher.
He wasn't even like purposely creepy. It was just because he was a spider and he like talked. It was very creepy. And it wasn't even like purposeful.
Oh, I was thinking of Little Bill, not Franklin. I'm not sure how I got those mixed up.
Yeah, they were on. I mean, they were around the same era, I guess.
Franklin's a turtle. Little Bill's a kid.
Yeah, there was Franklin the Turtle, Little Bear, and Little Bill.
All the littles.
Those were like the main three, and then Arthur.
Yes. And there are plenty of kids' books about him.
Yeah, isn't Anansi the spider an actual book?
Yes. I don't remember exactly what's in that book. Maybe it's one of these stories I told.
Perhaps.
Well, would you like to move on to Mayhem?
Yeah, I'm down.
How do you think we should do this Mayhem-wise? He's got intelligence.
Right. I mean, so like he has human intelligence, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, like that basically just makes him a giant coherent spider. How would we handle that as humans?
He seems to have a lot higher wisdom than most humans do, or intellect,
Yeah.
or the trick gods and such.
Maybe I don't know. I guess he doesn't really seem like he's. I mean, yeah, he has like a couple of hiccups of like greed and gluttony and stuff, but he doesn't seem to be like chaotic evil.
Oh,
You know?
I got an idea. So, Anansi just doesn't terrify anybody. Anansi goes after children in order to teach them life lessons.
Okay. Kind of like a Krampus ordeal.
Yeah. So
Okay.
instead of maybe he's a storyteller, and he's going around teaching children his stories and the life lessons and such of it. Which ain't really mayhemy unless he's forcibly doing it, which I doubt he will, because he's still a spider. If he's the spider-sized one,
Right.
because he does vary between being a human-sized spider or a spider-sized human or spider-sized spider.
I feel like he'd be like a human-sized spider. Seems to be more of like the the vibe.
Yeah. So you'll see him at your local rec center telling, or library telling kids stories,
It's kind of creepy.
or because I don't think he'll probably try and collect all the wisdom in the world again. It seems like he learned his lesson there,
Yeah. Well, we can only hope.
and he got the stories from Niame in order to spread with the people. So it
Hmm.
only makes sense that he'll be telling stories.
Right. That
Maybe
would be his
he's
job.
maybe it's his own. Maybe he's got his own podcast for storytelling.
Hmm.
Maybe he invented Audible.
Audible would be hilarious. That would be, I mean, it would be a good resource for him.
Yeah. Maybe he runs all the public libraries.
He's just like the master librarian.
Yeah. Isn't there a web term connected to libraries?
Like in what sense?
I'm not sure. Wait, is that why the internet's called the World Wide Web? Because you can get a bunch of stories on it?
Because there's a bunch of spider stories.
Yeah.
Wild.
I'm just theorizing here, but I don't think he'll be actually physically harmful to you. Because not a lot of the stories showed him actually killing anybody besides a lion.
Yeah.
He kind of poisoned a lion at one point after tricking the lion to kill a tiger.
That's it's kind of messed up.
Yeah. Short story for that one is the tiger was ruled over by the lion, and the tiger ruled over Anansi. Anansi didn't like being ruled over, so he
I
tricked the
can't
lion into
imagine.
killing the spider. He
Mm-hmm.
tricked the lion to kill the tiger, and while the lion was killing the tiger, he poisoned the lion's drinking water.
Oh,
He
wow.
needed it. That way, he was no longer ruled over.
Wow. He's just a tricky boy. He's like a really good storytelling Loki.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I guess he did kill a dwarf too.
He killed a dwarf?
Yes, it was his son was able to play the drums on the back of a dwarf's rear end that was the king's favorite jester
Mm-hmm.
and summon rain. And Nancy thought he could do better than his son. So Nancy picked up a bigger stick and beat the rear end of this dwarf harder and killed him. Nancy tried to hide, because it was the king's favorite jester, he tried to hide the body in a tree. And his son came back around and said, "Hey, where's the dwarf?" And he he went up to the tree and he sprouted that the son had killed him.
Mm-hmm.
But the son turned it back around on him and said, well, there was actually a reward for killing the jester.
Wow.
And so Anansi took the body to the king, and the king said, no, there was no reward. As your punishment, you shall put this box on, you shall carry the box that contains the body of the jester for as long as you live. So Anansi had to carry this box containing the dead body of the jester around. But he ended
The
up
dead body of the jester. Jesus.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then he ended up tricking an ant to carry it for him,
Seems fair.
which is why ants are always carrying stuff.
What? What a tie-in. Let me tell you.
See, there's always something with these stories.
There is always something with these stories. You're right.
I guess that's all the mayhem for me, because I can't really think of anything mayhemy for.
Yeah, he's fairly lesson teaching, kid friendly ish. I don't think he would be anything wild. I think it would appall us more that there's a giant man spider than what he actually does.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, if he took like a weird turn and turned into like Spider Krampus and stole kids and just like read them to death, be a little bit of a difference, I suppose.
Yeah, I think the more mayhem he causes his physical appearance, but if he is able to talk his way out of it, or maybe become president of the world somehow, I don't know. I think he'd be okay. I mean, if he can shapeshift, he'll be all set. I think his spider form might terrify people.
I mean, it would terrify me. So it would be, and imagine people like Songbird with a giant man spider walking around.
Yeah, there's arachnophobia.
Yeah.
Folks. There ain't no like satisfactory arachnophobia where it turns all the spiders into cats.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks everybody for listening. We'll do our outro stuff real quick. Thank you to our patrons, Nuggies, Ruby, Super Mage, Mondi, Loki. I believe that's all. Eventually I'll get a list down. Kaotic is second video sponsored by Is there anything new in your community coming up?
No, we have I think last episode we talked a little about how much I have going on. We've got a lot we're doing this month with Anna, so just be on the lookout for that. There's like a 24-hour stream and everything coming up.
Alrighty. Would you like to outro us?
Thank you for listening to the Monsters, Myths, and Mayhem podcast. Silver and Kaotic take you into the depth of the lore and discuss how these legends could affect modern-day society. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or almost any podcast service easiest to you. Dive into the depths of chaos with us every Wednesday, bark Silver and Kaotic not missing their scheduling, and consider joining the podcast Discord or Twitter, following more insider looks and even some D&D sessions. If you'd like some extra special inside looks or even want to be a guest on the show, consider helping us via Patreon. Your help makes such a big difference to us both. Until next time, Mythics, you never know what kind of mayhem we might get into.